Hey guys, it's time for a real quick and dirty workbench video. You guys probably know I'm a fan of Philips Warm Glow LED bulbs. They are LED bulbs that get warmer as you dim them, the way an incandescent would. I started using them when I moved into this house in 2016. These were the first ones I bought. I bought them not knowing about the warm dimming feature. They were just the only 10-degree par bulbs I could find. Loved them, loved the warm dimming feature. So a few years later, I bought this, which is, I think, a 40-degree or 35-degree something, just a slightly wider flood. Then a few years later, I started buying them for ceiling fan bulbs, mainly for testing in videos. And these are maybe a couple years old. And then you may have heard they recently reformulated. It's almost an outtake. Them. They are now, instead of warm glow, they are now ultra definition. They still mention the warm glow feature. And this is the new bulb that they just came out with. So we're just going to do a real quick and dirty test and see how similarly they dim. We got the test rig here. It's in bypass mode. We're only using the solid state control. You can see I've got most of the lights off here in the garage. So let's just bring them up real slow. I have a variac over there we could use as well, but a solid state dimmer is pretty accurate. Okay. So this does not come on as early as the other ones, which is probably a good thing because that makes it a little closer to incandescent. If you ever used incandescent and LED on the same dimmer, you know LED comes on a lot sooner. You'll notice, of course, that there's two different color temperatures of filaments, and it's the warmer filaments that come on first. These filaments are also larger. It's interesting how this one has already gotten pretty bright, whereas the rest of them are still nothing from the cooler filaments. This does seem a tad warmer than this one, but it could just be the size of the filaments. Now we're starting to see the cool filaments pop in. This one definitely seems a little brighter. Almost to the top. That's the top. Not much difference at full. There is a slightly different curve to it. I don't think the new bulb is quite as warm as the old one. That may be deliberate since the ultra definition motto is to bring sunlight indoors. It still does do the warm dimming effect because it does not bring the cool filaments in until near the end, which is the Alexa, garage off. Let's try it in the dark. The curve of this is more like an incandescent as far as brightness. I'd say less like an incandescent as far as color. But these are very subtle criticisms. I wasn't planning on comparing to a regular LED bulb, but let's do that too, because you can see that a regular LED bulb just sucks in comparison. Not sure how much you can actually see the specificity. Maybe if I get really close on it like that, you can see. It's interesting that they seem to bring the cooler filaments in at around the same time right there. Alexa, garage on. Alexa, workbench on. Let's do one more test in full brightness just to see, and then I'm going to swap in. I just so happen to have a great value filament LED, which I actually think are better than average. I actually kind of like the great value ones as far as non-warm glow. So let's just do one more pass. Okay, I don't feel like we're adding much by having the pars as a part of this test. They were really here just to see if there was any difference in the color or dimming function in the like 5-year or more version versus the one from the last 2 years. And there isn't really much, but it's not a fair comparison since some are pars and some are... See what I mean about how stupid the regular LED is in comparison? Not only does it come on much sooner, but it's the same color all the way up. In fact, if anything, it's a little warmer at full. So even though there's things I don't love about this new version, it's still way better than something like that. And I think the reason they're doing this, first of all, it does seem like it would play better on a dimmer as far as where it's supposed to start compared to an incandescent bulb, which is part of the goal. Also, I think the point of the ultra definition is to have a more full spectrum bulb at full brightness. So we're losing a little bit of the warm glow to get better at full brightness, which personally I'd rather the other way around. Only incandescent bulb I have handy is the 300 we use for the dim bulb test, aka lamp meter in the test rig. Let's put that over here and just see. That took some of the... This one, of course, starts very early because it is a 300 and not like a 40 or 60. I could probably dig one up, but that wasn't a planned part of the test. Alexa, garage off. Alexa, workbench off. So just to see just how warm that is compared to the LED when I start bringing these in. The color of these is much closer to that. That's really not fair for the 300. Let me just see if I can find something a little closer to... Alexa, garage on. Told you this was quick and dirty. Occasionally, miscreants will leave light bulbs over here in the fan testing department. Everything I'm seeing looks LED. And yes, by miscreants, I mean... Oh, here we go. Here's one. There's literally one. I mean, his metalness and the plasticky equivalent of Rick. Let's get rid of that. Behemoth. Oh, wow, that's hot. I forget how hot incandescent bulbs get. Does this work? The filament looks good. Oh, yeah. So what's interesting is that in this test, it's not holding true that what is held true in past tests, which is that normally it takes more current to get an incandescent bulb to light than does an LED bulb. But the warm glow... Okay, the regular filament LED is first, and then you get just a faint glow on that one. These come on just a little later. This, of course, is not necessarily a fair test either, because once you change the loads, I'm doing a whole lot more than I thought I would. Alexa, garage off. Let's just get this one out of the equation because it's annoying. Okay, so at least in this test, this comes on later than the incandescent does. The old warm glow is just slightly after. This one's a little less linear on the way down. But if you watch my videos, you know it's not always the case. There will be some fan videos where, here's what we're going to do. Goodbye, you. We have another one of these. Actually, we got several of both. I think I bought 8 of each, but sometimes we've had situations where we only had 4 warm glows and we needed 5, so there'd be 1 incandescent thrown in or 1 regular LED, and it would throw off the dimming curve. But in this situation here on the bench with the test rig dimmer, it really does seem to be about the same. Does that change anything? Interesting. This one dims when I take off that incandescent load. That is interesting. How does the incandescent load change? I doubt it. That's pretty... No, that's going to stay the same no matter what. But when I take out the incandescent load, let's try a close up on this one. Let's see if I can block the light so that when the light itself is not a factor. Interesting. Yes, it does change. Because right now I've got a cardboard box over the incandescent bulb, which I will not leave there because that would be a fire hazard. But it does get brighter, not dimmer when I add the incandescent. Okay. Well, the good news is all of these should do fine on a dimmer, because either you'll have an LED dimmer that usually has what we would call a low-speed trim. It's just a low trim, but since we normally work with motors, then that's fine. Or a regular dimmer, but it would still presumably start low enough that you could start from 0, which is not the case with all LED bulbs. Again, there's certain things I prefer about the curve of the old one. There's certain things I prefer about the curve of the new one. But ultimately, like I said, this just seems a little warmer at lower levels, but it also seems brighter at lower levels. So that could also be a factor. Ultimately, these do look a little more you can tell my background is in fans and music because I was about to say full volume. These look better at full volume. Okay, well, answer your questions. Yes, they did change the bulbs. No, they're not significantly better. No, they're not significantly worse. Yes, they're different. Yes, I'll continue to recommend them and buy them. Haven't seen what their pars look like now. The last time I bought pars, they looked like this, and honestly, I was worried that they would be discontinued. So the last time I bought pars, I bought literally every par I could find online. So I've got cases of these. So I probably won't need any ever. But I would be curious to see what they're making now. By the way, I did try to find more of the narrow spots. Are they 10 or 15? Let's see if it says. Try to give me some more light. $15. Yeah, those are what I'm using in my music room. I pulled that out of a music room light. And yeah, have not been able to find any of those. So I did buy some from a different company, and they don't dim nearly as nicely. So I do need some more 10 or 15 degree warm glow spots, but I have plenty of these, which are, does it say? I'm trying to read things in the dark. Oh, these are 25. That makes more sense. 40 is a little wide for me. That's what she said. Okay. Well, as always, thanks for watching. Please continue to support us by buying Fan Stick, Light Stick, Taco Burrito Mexico, playing Ricker Sheep, The Good Manufacturing Company, 81220 LLC. I can't remember all of them now. So thanks for watching. Bye, Fan Stick.